Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. It is Wednesday, June the 4th in 2025. We're going to talk about a sad thing first and then some exciting optimism second. But first, thank you for everybody that watches and streams and listens. Give us a like and a subscribe if you would. The YouTube channel, we'll always let you know ahead of time when we're going live. I'm here with just Adam this week. How you doing, brother?
Unlike the Minnesota Vikings, we have one too few men in our huddle today.
I
Sad
know.
times.
What a sad day. I wanted to give him the due diligence he deserves. Jim Marshall passed away, I believe, on the 2nd, just a few days ago. I think it's a travesty that he wasn't in the Hall of Fame while he was alive. He should be. I think it's egregious that one play would define or overshadow a career that is just extraordinary. And we'll talk about it, but wanted to give our condolences to Jim Marshall and his family. Adam, you let me know. I was a little ignorant to the fact that he was sick. So he had been in the hospital, I believe, up until this point. So it wasn't sudden or anything out of the blue, but nonetheless, life goes on, history goes on, and Father Time stays undefeated. And now another Vikings legend has left us. So we
20-year NFL career, every single season was Minnesota Vikings. That's amazing. And then once he retired from the NFL, he started up a program with another former Viking and helped out homelessness and other issues around Minnesota. And I don't know. To me, it's just not only was he a great football player, but he did great things for the community. And that kind of person, when you lose that kind of person, it hurts.
Absolutely. And I'm basing this off of what you can look up on Wikipedia. So, I'm not an expert here, but I wanted to give him the respect he deserves. He was born December 30th, 1937 in Kentucky, passed away on June 3rd, so yesterday. Just pretty crazy, man. Looking over his career here, defensive end for 20 seasons, primarily with the Vikings. I think it says here he was with the Browns in 1960 for once. I'm not sure. I have to look that up. But yeah, 19 years with the Vikings, recovered an NFL career record 29 opponents' fumbles. And outside of the Brett Favre starts, which I don't know that it'll ever be beaten, or the Tom Brady, maybe Tom Brady took that record. 270 consecutive starts, 282 games played. So that's most all time by a defensive player. He is retired in the Vikings Ring of Honor. His number 70 is retired, and yeah, he should be in the Hall of Fame. 130.5 sacks in his career. I mean, what are we doing here?
Second all-time among Vikings players in sacks.
It's crazy. And in an era where, the NFL...
Behind only his teammate Carl Eller.
Yeah, in an era that wasn't as huge as it obviously is now, widespread, this is what real rough and tumble football. Like the longevity there alone is something to be mesmerized at. But to have the stats that he has, I'm looking here, an NFL champion in 1969, three times second team All Pro, 64, 68, and 69, two times in the Pro Bowl. I mean, good Lord, just a crazy number. 130 and a half sacks, one safety, 30 fumble recoveries, one interception, one defensive touchdown.
Yeah, being a part of that Purple People Eaters defense is just automatically puts you in part of the Minnesota Vikings legend group, but the fact that he was considered to be the captain of that unit, yet he never really got the recognition he deserved for what he did and what he was willing to do for the Vikings, especially at a national level. I mean, 2 Pro Bowls? What?
Right. Yeah, that's the most egregious thing that I read there. And 3 times second team All Pro. I couldn't be first team All Pro once there. Well, it's fine. He's part of the 50 greatest Vikings throughout team history. The 25th anniversary team, the 40th anniversary team. Like I said, he's in the Ring of Honor. They retired his number 70. But
like Bud Grant, Alan Page, those guys did not ever have enough positive things to say about Jim Marshall.
Oh, cool. So he played the 1960 season, 1960, with the Browns, contracted encephalitis during military training. Wow. Placed in an induced coma to save his life and then came back. Wow. He was traded along with 5 other players to the expansion Minnesota Vikings for 2 draft picks in the 1962 draft. Isn't that crazy?
Oh yeah.
I had my dad's boss growing up had encephalitis. He was in the hospital. It was very, very traumatic. And to come back from that and have the seasons that he had and the career he had, that's crazy. Um, yeah, it's sad that he'll get remembered for the one play he did run in the wrong direction. We're not going to go too far into that. I have Vikings bias against that. I don't think that if one play defines your entire career, like you wouldn't put guys like Brett Favre in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he has so many boneheaded interceptions, but he's an all-time on the
I mean,
field.
I get it if it was a positive play. I mean, like, if you had like a fantastic catch against your helmet or something, I get it.
Right.
But we're at the point now where that happened. What? Almost like 50 years ago now.
Right. And it shouldn't outshine the, let's see, number 77, 49. What date was that? Doesn't show it here. October 25th, 1964. I mean, we're well over 60 years past that now. So, yeah, it's kind of weird to still focus on that, especially like we gave all of his accolades. Most seasons played by a defensive player, 20 seasons. Good God. Complete seasons, 20.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
These aren't just. I want to make sure that that's clear before we move on about the legend that was Jim Marshall. Is these aren't like the cookie cutter like feel good stats. These are super impressive, and it's what like our modern the closest guy that we have today in the Vikings is Harrison Smith. Looking at what he's done, staying with one team and all the accolades, Harrison's only going into what year 14. I mean, could you imagine Harrison Smith playing 6 more seasons?
That'd be wild.
That'd be crazy. Especially back in this day and age where, the safety equipment wasn't great and people were actually like taking each other's heads off. So, nothing but respect, a legend. He was already a legend in our community, but I think the NFL needs to get it right. It'll be posthumously, but you got to get him in the Hall of Fame. He deserves to be
And
in there.
these days, a lot of younger fans just look at it and be like, "Oh well, he only made the Pro Bowl twice. He was all Pro first team, never." So it's like, yeah, you can look at those accolades and be like, "Hey, maybe those don't stack up against some of the other players in the Pro Football Hall of Fame." But learn what he did, learn the player he was and what he accomplished, and you might change your mind.
This doesn't average as well. Like when I'm going to say it out loud, it's not going to average out as much as you thought, but it's 6.5 sacks averaged a year. But that's 20 years.
Right.
130.5 divided by 20 is 6.5. So if you get 6.5 sacks a year, I mean that's pretty good. It's not bad, especially considering they played 10 games back in the day to start. You didn't have as many teams. You gotta appreciate the different eras, and I think that's something that's lost in this day and age. And you can hear, the older that any person gets when they watch something like this, like you or I, we're going to be like, well, it's a different era, back in the day versus today, yada yada. But really and truly, you have to respect that era for what it was and what they did, why they did it, how they did it, and if we're going to give him his due diligence, I'm sure you agree, Adam. But we need to get him in the Hall of Fame. It's a travesty. 130.5 sacks, regardless, should get you in the Hall of Fame. Not to mention the longevity on top of it. So we'll see. That would be really cool if they could, figure that out this upcoming season. It's coming up soon. But rest in peace to him. Condolences to the family. This is a loss for Vikings fans everywhere. And I'm sure they'll do a nice tribute to him in this upcoming season. That'll be
Oh
nice.
yeah.
But I'm going to let you take over, Adam. OTAs are underway. I looked up the schedule today. It's really like sporadic and intermittent. Training camp doesn't start for a little while. They'll have a little bit of a summer break coming up. But from everything that I'm seeing on social media, the talk of the town is J.J. McCarthy. I am trying my best not to listen to any national media outlets when they talk about him because it's all doom and gloom, minus Colin Cowherd's little minion. He actually did
I
a
just saw that a little bit ago.
yeah, that was cool to hear something positive. But everything that we're hearing coming out about JJ McCarthy so far is he looks great. Harrison Phillips had something nice to say about him in an interview not too long ago. So I'll leave it up to you, man. The floor is yours. Tell us about what you're hearing and maybe any articles that you're writing over on the Viking Age, and let's get into a little bit of a preview of what we should expect this summer. Some battles, maybe.
So the big surprise for me about OTAs is that everybody showed up.
Right.
Everybody.
Yeah,
And that means like Justin Jefferson and the big stars as well showing up to do their thing. And let's be honest, in today's NFL, the big stars don't typically show up to OTAs. That doesn't
right.
usually happen.
Mandatory minicamp, I can understand. We don't have the Aaron Rodgers drama, so I'm sure that all the Pittsburgh fans are probably shaking their head at that. But yeah, dude, I can't say enough things. You mentioned Justin Jefferson. I can't say enough good things about him ever. I can't believe that he's there. He's a perennial pro. He's a true professional. You know he wants to win. I'm so glad the Vikings got ahead of it and paid him what he deserves, and he'll be on the team for years to come. And now with the rookie quarterback, who hopefully will be his quarterback for a long time, um, you can tell. Like when you tell me that, Adam, that tells me that Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi, and Brian Flores all together, they have a really good handle on the team, and they have a really good chemistry amongst the atmosphere and the relationships there between all the players. Because and thank God we don't have any of that drama where it's like, well, this person didn't show up, they're in contract dispute. Like, I really
Right.
do believe it starts at the top and funnels its way down, like the Cowboys. Micah Parsons can't help that Myles Garrett and the Browns reset the market. TJ Watt can't help that the Browns and Myles Garrett reset the market. But now they're going to show up to camp. They're not going to practice. We could be in a Trey Hendrickson situation if we really look at it, at a negative lens. But the Vikings don't have any of those pieces of drama right now. And I think that trickles down. I mean, remember the tensions before, in recent memory in the Zimmer era, just little things in the offseason. And you're like, man, I wonder how much of that trickled into the season where that's a distraction. But doesn't seem to be a thing here with this regime. And I
And we saw a little bit of that in the NFC North recently with the Detroit Lions and Frank Ragnow retiring out of the blue. We knew that he was unhappy with his contract and that he didn't want to play under what he had, and guess what? He's not.
I love that for us. Detroit, I'm not going to be a piece of garbage and root for injury or anything like that. But anytime your team gets worse, I'm gonna applaud it. Same thing, Chicago, Green Bay. Your team can get much worse. I'm selfish. I'm a fan of my team. You play in the division. You are our greatest rivals. Um, yeah, man. I don't know. Speaking of, I don't know how Detroit doesn't take a slight step back this year. They lost at least one or two players. They lost both coordinators. Now you lost your starting center, who's pretty young too. What is he, like 29 years old?
Yeah, he's a young guy.
Yeah, he's right in his prime or just exiting the peak of his prime for his NFL career. So I got nothing bad to say. I don't know anything about Frank Ragnow. I just know he was on
I know
a
he's
nice,
one heck of a football player.
great football player, a part of a great unit in Detroit, part of the turnaround of a pretty dumpster franchise for a long time. But well wishes to you. Stay retired. Don't come back and go find something else to do and, go be a dad or a husband or whatever and enjoy your retirement, man.
Now, you mentioned Harrison Phillips, and what he said was interesting because I'm not quite sure how to take it. J.J. McCarthy reminding him of a young Josh Allen. Do I like that?
Well, I think what you're alluding to, Adam, and what I think everybody else should keep going forward with is saying, when you say a young Josh Allen, your negativity and the question mark at the end, like Ron Burgundy, is we remember the very first season where he's super athletic, but he's like all over the place. But
Yeah,
what
he
I'm
had to correct his
hoping,
throwing motion and do a lot of work to get to where he's at.
yeah, I think what Harrison meant is the potential. You see the potential of superstardom there because we had no idea I mean, Vikings fan had an idea year one. We'll never forget that home Buffalo game in the very first Kirk Cousins season where the Vikings were 17 and a half point favorites and they got the dog shit beat out of
Oh,
them by the
yeah.
Bills and a rookie quarterback. Anthony Barr got Saquon Barkley and it was bad. But I think what he's trying to say is he sees potential here because he was there for the early part of Josh Allen's career, and I'm sure they could see him practice, probably not as frequently and consistently early on as probably now, but I'm sure there was wow moments in practice like, holy shit, this kid's got some, and I hate these two words that I'm going to say, maybe a little it factor, maybe a little moxie. I hate
Well,
those
the one thing
words.
I noticed is that during these OTAs, when they're talking to players, unprompted, players will talk about J.J. McCarthy and how much they love him. Aaron Jones, you put a microphone in front of him and he is going to talk about J.J. McCarthy.
I remember, and maybe it was in the same interview you watched, Adam, where that was brought up. I think, yeah, J Mac for Colin Coward saying I get time to talk with these guys off the camera, and that's the first thing that Aaron Jones. Dude, you guys got to understand. Each player has a different personality. Like some of those guys are very quiet. Like Harrison Smith is a naturally quiet guy. We've learned that about him over
Right.
the years. He's a very good businessman. He'll talk up what he needs to talk up or say the right things, even in a bad moment. But Aaron Jones is a very humble, very outgoing, very give back to the community. He's a great human being, much like CJ Ham and Harrison Phillips. We got a lot of good guys on the team. But I like Aaron Jones the most because he came over feeling like an outcast from Green Bay. And you heard from Green Bay fans alike, like he's just a great dude. Like he's a great football player, out. But to have a good human want to come out and speak good things about you, I like that a lot. I don't know. I'm excited. I do think there is a little bit of burnout for me on that. I know that some of that is a lot of car salesmanship there where these guys are told before the day starts, hey, man, say something positive about the quarterback. We got a rookie quarterback going out or first year starter, like hype him up a little bit. That's being said
I don't know. TJ
somewhere.
Hawkinson saying that he throws the football like Matt Stafford's pretty cool.
I like that. I hope it's true. I hope I'm not getting salesman speak just because. We'll find out soon enough, though. I can't believe, man. I have diarrhea of the mouth because I'm really excited to talk today, but I can't believe it's already June. I mean, July is going to be here in a blink of an eye, and then we're going to be talking about preseason and firing away with training camp, and it's going to be good. Then we'll get to see, a couple practices. I think who are they practicing with this year? The Patriots.
Yep.
So, that's right around the corner. I'm really excited about it. I have seen some things that I want to talk about just on social media is where I'm checking in. I'm not even looking for news there. My phone just listens and hears me talking about the Vikings, I guess. But Vikings Central, Vikes Verified, shout out to you guys. I really enjoy those pages. I've seen a couple of polls, and this could be someone's just opinion turned into a poll or an article or whatever. But free agent acquisitions, and they did a top 10, and I loved the running back portion. Jordan Mason's high up on the list. He was like 3 or 4. I think he might be the one player through the draft or through free agency that I'm looking at saying, all right, this dude is going to be a key piece of what changes or shapes the identity of the team this year. I know Aaron Jones is going to do his thing. Super glad he's back. He proved his worth last year.
And you and I both like Aaron Jones, but I don't want him carrying the ball with the volume he did last year. I don't want that again.
I don't either. And I think you and I can both agree while you and I both will admit we have a little bit of purple goggles on sometimes. We have to keep it real, and that there has been a drop off in recent memory after Dalvin Cook left from running back 1 to running back 2. Has been a little more of a distance than we probably like. When we had Alexander Madison and Dalvin Cook, I thought that was a great one too. I thought they were close enough together but far enough apart to establish a starter and a backup, but they also had great different styles. What I like about this is, yeah, you get the different styles, but if I need Jordan Mason to carry the load just for a game, he can do that. And I don't think Aaron Jones is going to take it.
We've seen him do it.
You saw it last year. To fill in for Christian McCaffrey and do what they do in San Francisco, which is a run it down your throat kind of ball team. Yeah, why not? I'm excited for him, man. He might be my favorite. I'll make this claim again, maybe the end of July, and we'll see if I feel differently. But right now, that's the person that I'm paying the attention to the most.
And it's not like a huge knock against Ty Chandler, but I don't think I was ready for him to step into that role and take a timeshare with, Aaron Jones. I'm not there with him yet.
I don't think so either. It's not a knock on him, like you said. I think you just feel your role and there's levels to it. And I think so far he's proven to be a good running back 3. He's got some flashes for maybe special teams, but running back 2 is a big deal. You're going to get touches every game as a running back 2. So right. I don't know that he's quite ready for that. Maybe he develops into that, maybe not. But I think this was a smart move. I think the Vikings really took, and I saw this too. I'd like to go on a little bit of a tangent and just give shout outs to the things that I enjoy watching. And I'll tell you the reasons why. So I love Rich Eisen's show. He's clearly taken over my number 1 to watch every day. Andrew Siciliano was filling in for him yesterday, and Gerald McCoy was on, and he was ranting about Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. And what I really enjoyed, and I think this is for all NFL fans, he said the reason that the Cowboys haven't reached an NFC championship game in 30 years is Jerry Jones is building the team still on the 1994 model. He's like, now you need to beat the teams that are beating you. Well, how do you do that? You either counteract what they're doing severely, or you do what they do better than you and you beat them that way. There's different ways to do it. And what I like that the Vikings did to round this to a Minnesota point is they saw that the running game was good, not great. Or, hey, it's kind of a one-trick pony, let's fix it. They added depth there. They saw that Sam Darnold got the snot beat out of him when it really counted last year in 3 or 4 different games. What are you going to do to fix it? All right, well, we're going to go get 2 great offensive interior linemen, and hey, we're going to draft one too. You have to go do that. And then, hey, Brian Flores, I don't want you to be in the corner and not get your allowance too. Go get some defensive players. Oh, we got Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen. Like, crazy. And they didn't neglect the back end of the defense too. I want to give those guys their flowers. But what I'm saying is, around that point, is you have to evolve. And what I really, really appreciate with this team, and I hate to pick on the previous regime, but you remember the previous regime, we would scream like, stop going to the Walmart $5 bin for offensive linemen. Stop drafting tackles and putting them at guard. Just go get a guard. Just address. Sometimes the easiest move is the most obvious one. And I really feel like with a head of steam this offseason, they really went to fix the things that were glaringly obvious.
Now, you were talking about the difference in regimes, and yes, the Rick Spielman era was very different from what's going on now, but the Vikings ownership just showed that they have faith in Kwesi Adofo-Mensah by giving him a long-term extension. Now, we can sit here and debate, yes, he's had some draft day mistakes, made some picks that, in hindsight, aren't great.
Sure.
But as far as the things he's been able to do in free agency and to keep the current team happy together and to give the coaching staff pieces to work with, I can't complain too much.
It was the mustache. The mustache. He never had one, then he got an extension. Keep the mustache, man. No, I think he did great. I think especially this year with limited resources, and you know, hand in hand, we have to say, Adam, we are blessed as fans to have one of the best ownership groups in the NFL because they let these guys do their job. I could not imagine being a Cowboys fan and having Jerry Jones, geriatric ass, just having his thumbprint and everything.
Right.
You've already made all the money you'll ever need to make. You're pushing 80. Just go live your life. What you're doing is clearly not working, and it's the definition of insanity. Let these guys do their job, and we don't have to worry about that with that. Or like New England. New England turned into the Chicago Bulls so fast. It's so wild. You had your Michael Jordan and Tom Brady. You had your great coach, Phil to Bill, which is great that rhymes. And then you have an owner that wants to, jump in, and the GM that wants to jump in and like, well, we're tearing this down. We're doing it this way. But why? It was working. Like, what do you mean? And I'm so glad that they let these guys do their job. Is Kwesi without fault? No, you're right. You mentioned it. There have been some whiffs, especially the draft side of it. But I think if we can have patience, just like you need to have patience with J.J. McCarthy, who is going to have a game or two where he struggles this year, have patience and don't be so quick to just, we got to fire this guy. We got to fire this guy. Let them gel together, because what we don't take into consideration is that knee-jerk reaction to firing someone always comes with the baggage of, you got to pack your bags, get this guy out. Then we got to bring a new guy in and hope that he works, unpack his bags, and hope it's not the same thing a year later or a year from now that you've got a new person in. I want to see these guys together for 10 years. I'd love Kevin O'Connell to have nothing more than a Mike Tomlin run with the Vikings. That's what I'm hoping and praying for.
Now, I am not surprised that O'Connell got an extension first, but I am happy that they both got done because they seem like a team that listens. O'Connell seems to be able to go up to the GM and say, hey, this is what we need to do. And it seems like, the GM listens and figures out what he can do.
Right.
And he has been adding talent to this Minnesota Vikings roster in sneaky ways. Like Taj Felton, I don't know enough about him, but I know Minnesota wanted another weapon on offense to be a possible wide receiver 3, maybe 4. I don't know where he's going to fit, but they went and got another weapon.
Speaking of him specifically, what I really love about that is 1 and 2 is locked down. We've been so spoiled as Viking fans, especially you guys that have watched longer than I have. You had Reed, Moss, and Carter, and then we get and spoiling our age of Diggs and Thielen, and then Thielen and Jefferson. Now it's Jefferson and Addison. There's a clear 1 and 2. They are upper echelon, both of them, respectively solid number 1 and then 1A. I didn't want the drop off to be so bad with the third, but now what I really enjoy is okay, if there is a drop off, which there is a little bit, at least now you'll have some depth there where if a guy goes down, he gets a little injured. Because what you don't want is to have a solid like superstar 1, superstar 2, and then the gap goes down all the way to wide receiver 4 as your third option. And I understand TJ Hawkinson there to catch the ball. I understand they're going to scheme Aaron Jones to catch a couple balls. But what I don't want to see is there just to be such a drop because, a good football team is like a really good cake. There's going to be good layers. You've got to have the frosting. You've got to have everything else. Every single thing about it, if it's layered correctly, is going to be perfect. And, I didn't expect them to get a receiver in the draft. I didn't think that was a super need. But watching his tape and his highlights and then watching him at the combine, I was like, how can you not? Dude's a freak. He's a freak athlete.
And while we're talking about Adolfo Mensa, he's been making quiet, bold decisions since he got here. Move on from Kirk Cousins, bring in Sam Darnold for a year, stick with J.J. McCarthy instead of going and getting another veteran after a big season. These are really bold decisions that are kind of getting swept under the rug just because people kind of expect Minnesota to go with the younger draft pick. But let me tell you something. I don't know if Rick Spielman would have.
It's true. And God knows that he and Zimmer weren't going to be on the same page probably anyway.
So, right.
It takes a lot of balls to move off of Kirk Cousins, who's been Mr. Reliable. I'm not going to poo-poo on Kirk. Very consistent, very reliable. Not the highest mountaintop peak, but you pretty much know what you're going to get. You're going to get a very solid pro out of him.
Right.
And while he didn't look the part last year, if Aaron Rodgers ends up not going to Pittsburgh, I'm going to overpay for that dude because, like you and I have discussed on the show and personally on the side, like that first year after an Achilles is not very good. That second year, he should be back to form. Now, how many more seasons does he have left? I'm not sure, but with what Pittsburgh's trotting out there right now, he's got to be better than Mason Rudolph. But I digress. To your point is with Kwesi and moving on from Kirk, I think what happened is nothing has been shown in the way of flowers yet. Yes, Sam Darnold had a resurrection season last year, and then it ended terribly. So, okay, the fans are like, yeah, we see why you moved on from him. Like, there were a couple people screaming.
And the reports are that right now Sam Darnold is looking really bad at OTA.
Oh, really?
Really bad.
That sucks. I was rooting for him. Still am. I hope he has a good year there. But I can see why fans would be like, okay, we kind of saw the true colors when, the bright lights came on. But you don't have the flowers yet for JJ because you know what? Maybe I just heard it wrong. Adam, you can correct me on the show. I've been wrong 1,000 times on this show. But the narrative after the Vikings moved on from Darnold, it seemed like the media was spinning like, well, they were moving on because J.J. McCarthy was going to take that job. I never heard that one time last year. The only time I ever heard J.J. McCarthy even throwing with ones was to split reps. It wasn't because he was nipping at Sam Darnold's heels. And I think that he's going to prove a lot of people wrong because my biggest thing about McCarthy coming out was I didn't see a lot of volume in college based on the system that was ran in Michigan.
Right.
So I had questions, fair questions, but I'm not going to not be happy we drafted the kid. Like if Kevin O'Connell says the dude can play, I'm rolling with it. He can play, but I think I'm just waiting. I think this is just a seed that got planted last year. There was a harsh winter, to use a dumb analogy for Minnesota people, and then. Okay, now I think that flower is going to blossom this year. He's going to have some growing pains, but I expect that. The good thing about it is if you take into perspective the NFC North, Chicago changed offensive coordinator and coach again. Detroit lost both coordinators and their center. Green Bay is Green Bay. They're still competitive. They're very young, but I don't think the gap is as far as like the media would tell you. Everybody still wants to give Detroit the NFC Championship game this year. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Vikings are closer than people might imagine. I just can't see how you sweep under the rug. You win 14 games with a guy who looked like he was about to be out of the league every year prior. I think that's.
But it is super hard to be confident and in a prediction when we don't really know what J.J. McCarthy is going to bring to the Minnesota Vikings offense.
Correct.
And that's the hardest part and why I see when Minnesota gets these predictions like, oh, they're going to be an 8-win team, they're going to be a 7-win team, they're going to be a 10-win team, they're going to be a 5-win team. They're all over the place.
I just want the Vikings to be competitive. And I know that's such a generic, not fun answer, but if they win 9 games, they go 9-8, but they lose 3 of those games by 6 or less points, and it came down to like, man, McCarthy just got rushed and he got sacked, or he threw a pick, but he'll learn from it. Like, I'm fine with that. If they're getting dog walked, like Adam, do you remember a couple years ago? I think it was the first year with Kevin O'Connell. It's crazy we're going into year 4 with Kevin O'Connell.
Right.
It doesn't even seem like it. First year, they have the comeback win against Indy, and they win all these close games. You remember that one game? I think they played Dallas, and they just got the shit beat out of them. In Minnesota, Dallas just came in and had every single play dialed. I don't want to see any of those games because then I have problems with like total preparation. And I really only expect that to happen maybe once. I don't like the Philadelphia Eagles as a matchup for us at all. I feel more confident in this team on paper more than ever because
But I do feel like the Minnesota Vikings have a playoff quality roster.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. The only things that worry me are the quarterback and the secondary. Everything else, I feel like if you
And
look
what's funny is like with the quarterback situation, we just said the only problem there is that they're unproven, and I think that kind of goes into the same thing with the cornerbacks because a lot of those guys that are bringing in for the cornerback this year, they're going to get tested. They're guys that we don't know a lot about, and if they step up and play well, these questions could turn into strengths.
I hope. I haven't seen Jeff Okudah live up to it yet, but the system should work for him. Byron Murphy's back. I am so high on, and I'm so happy to have Isaiah Rodgers. Oh my gosh. I was stoked when I had that. I don't care if he wasn't like your primary starter. I don't care if he was just a nickel. If you get a Super Bowl winning corner from the Super Bowl winning team, I'm always going to be happy about it. 99% of the time, barring that weird, like, if like a wide receiver type, if we get Kadarius Toney, yeah, I'd have questions if the Vikings picked him up. I know he won a Super Bowl, and he's, I don't know where if he's even playing now, but I remember Isaiah Rodgers and the trouble he had with Indy, and then he just won a Super Bowl with Philly. I was super happy to pick him up. I hope you're right, Adam. That's my point. I hope you're right on that.
And we got the same thing with like Blackman. We don't know what Blackman has, and he could turn out to be really good.
Saw potential.
I've heard people, the team, the coaches talking him up.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
I like him too. I
love that we have those kind of questions to go in and look and things to look forward to during the season to evaluate because, don't get me wrong, I love Harrison Smith, but we know what Harrison Smith brings to the Vikings.
Yep.
And I love a lot of these guys, but we know Justin Jefferson's that guy. He's going to catch footballs. He's going to get yards. It's going to happen every game. We don't know what some of these guys are going to bring to the team this year, and that I don't know if that's exciting or it makes me nervous or what it is, but either way, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I think it's okay to make you nervous. I'm a little nervous too because you don't want it to be a flop. Like Jonathan Allen's a little long in the tooth, but he's been a disruptor his whole career. I'm really excited about Javon Hargrave. I like the mentality and the game plan, and what I like most of all is like there's a certain style. Like think of, just to use an analogy, when you think of the old Pittsburgh Steelers or current Baltimore Ravens, current 49ers team, what are they going to do? They're going to run the shit out of the ball. They're going to play old school football. Steelers are going to play good defense, run the ball, and try to beat you 20-21. When you think of the Vikings and what they've been and what they're doing, especially on the management side, what is Questi going to do? Low risk, high reward. He's been doing that since he got here. But you still get some quality names. Like, look at last year. You get Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman. They all 3 of them balled out. That's 1,000 batting average. That never happens. At least one of them should have been a flop. All of them are great. All returning, great. Now you go get Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. I know both of those guys from both of their respective teams.
Right.
I just need one of them to be great. I hope they're both amazing. But what they did was boom or bust. We're going to go for our bang for our buck here. We're not going to overpay, but we're going to give them a chance. Just like Isaiah Rodgers. Take a chance on him. He might not have started on the Eagles because they've got gargoyles at every position, like I always like to say. But give him a chance here, see what happens. I'm really excited, and I think that's a cool thumbprint that Questi's made along the way is trying to find the value. He's a very value-based general manager.
Because the biggest thing we're seeing right now among Minnesota Vikings fans is concern about the defensive backs, the depth at cornerback, and
Yep.
I guess the players are hearing some of this rumbling that's going on social media and are not happy with it.
I've heard that about multiple teams, man. Jordan Love's pissed about that in Green Bay, and I forget who else. Somebody else said something recently on one of the shows we're talking about it. Like players here when you chirp about them, especially in the national media, they get real pissed about it. So I think I think all players get unfairly scrutinized a little too much because we have so much access to data now. But that's funny. They're listening, even if they don't want to. They're going to hear some things.
So I was really interested in one thing that one of my co-writers on the Viking Age wrote about. They're talking about the worst trade the Minnesota Vikings made in the last 10 years. And boy, there are some ones you can think about.
Yeah.
Because I hated that the trade down that ended up bringing in Lewis Seen. Hated that. And boy, there were some other trades that just didn't work out. But it was Athlon Sports, I believe. And they said the worst trade the Minnesota Vikings made in the last 10 years was going and getting Sam Bradford.
I can't agree with that because when you're promising young quarterback tears his knee apart right before the season starts, you're doing the entire locker room. I don't even care about the fans at that point. You're doing that entire locker room a disservice by not making the attempt. That would be like, you or I, we're on the bench and the starting person at our position goes out and we just don't even go on the field.
And let's be honest, Bradford came to Minnesota and he balled out. He was completing so many passes.
Dude,
he was playing real well.
Didn't Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't that first year he was here, he had the highest completion percentage in the league?
I was going to say that, but I wasn't sure if it was him or Drew Brees.
I'm positive it was him for a season. And then, in his career, his highest completion percentage was with Minnesota.
And yes, Sam Bradford fleeced many teams for a lot of money. There's no argument there. He has some of the best representation ever.
I'm not mad about it.
I ain't mad at that. But I'm also not mad about Minnesota giving up, a pick to go and get him to make sure the team wasn't bad that year.
You had to make the attempts. You had to make it, and I understand, like, for that moment, going to get that particular player, him specifically, because the arm is there, the brain is there. It's just his lower body was very fragile. That sucks. He's the Penny Hardaway of the NFL. If I could go back in time, or if you don't know who Penny Hardaway is, I'll say Derrick Rose because he was always hurt, but he's super talented. If I could go back in time and I could magic wand someone's health for 2 years, I would magic wand Sam Bradford's knees for the 2017 season.
Yeah.
I don't know that they'd beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, but they might compete with Philly by more than 7 points. Hell, they might win enough games to host Philly in Minnesota. I don't know. Philly felt like they were a destiny team that year with Nick Foles, and just everything worked out. But I would have loved to have seen that because I remember the year prior was 2016. Vikings went 8-8. He looked okay. I think it was 2016 was a home opener. Week 2, they were against Green Bay. Trey Waynes picks off Aaron Rodgers and they win the game, right? That 2017
I got to see that one in person. Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. I know you remember that game. So the next season, home opener, I think it was week 1. They played the Saints at home, which will be funny because the Saints would come back to Minnesota that year and lose by a miracle. But that particular game, Sam Bradford, week 1, 2017, I mean, I can't find a Vikings game outside of Brett Favre against Dallas in the playoffs that's better than that one. I don't even think Kirk's had a game like that. Maybe Sam last year. Sam did have a game where he threw like 4 or 5 touchdowns last year. But point being, Sam Bradford, that 1 year, 1 game, the season he played, the dude was unstoppable. And it's not just that he threw touchdowns and that they won. I'm watching how clean the ball comes out of his hand, the most perfect spiral. I mean, he knew where the receivers were going to be, and I'm like, why can't we just have 1 season of this?
But if we're talking about bad trades, I mean, the Ngakoue trade to me was worse than that.
Yeah, he didn't even play the full season on the team, and the shitty part was he wanted to stay. He's on record of saying, "Well, I wanted to stay in Minnesota." What do you mean? And funny, just because you mentioned it, you were at the game with Trey Waynes in the pick, the inaugural home opener. I was at one game when one of like the 5 games Ngakoue was a Viking. I was at the Houston game where us and the Texans were both 0-3 and the Vikings won. They go 0-4 and they fired Bill O'Brien, which is hilarious. But I saw Ngakoue very close to me. That was really weird. Didn't
There's
think
a
we were going
very
to talk
short
about
window
Yannick
there.
Ngakoue today. I didn't think that was going to be on the show.
But yeah, I mean, when we're talking about bad trades, I don't think Minnesota's had a really terrible one in recent history.
No, the draft bust is not very good. I mean, he did move on to Philly. He didn't play in the Super Bowl, but technically he's a Super Bowl winner. Um, I really wish they would have gotten Kyle Hamilton. Who knows how that would have panned out. Um, I think he learned his lesson, though. What I don't want to see anymore is like, I don't care about you trading back. I just don't want you to trade within the division. I know that sounds dumb. You know, maybe if they trade up with the Bears and they want to go get a quarterback at some point, like maybe Caleb Williams was on the table and Chicago would have allowed that. Sure, trade with the division there, but don't let your rival offer you something where you move back and they jump ahead of you. And now looking at it like, yeah, the Vikings could have drafted Kyle Hamilton that year. Well, that's a huge miss. But I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. Do we count draft trades as trades? They are technically one, but
I'm still not sure what Minnesota's plan is at that other starting safety spot because I don't really want them to move a player that can roam around and play multiple positions.
yeah.
I don't want them to pigeonhole him into a safety spot. That's just my deal.
Well, they have a lot of faith. I keep forgetting the guy's name. This is like the second show in a row where I forget. They was it Jay Ward? No, it's not Jay Ward. What's the other guy's name?
I keep wanting to call him Bobby. It ain't Bobby.
I'm trying to think of the safety that they gave a couple years contract to. They have a lot of faith in him to give him that much equity. So I'm hoping that if that's what they're going to do, then they roll with it. It'll be the smart decision.
Yeah,
Much
I'm
like
hoping
it
it's kind of
was.
a Josh Mattel's situation where he gets an extension and
Yep.
people are like, why did he get this extension? And then Josh Mattel's is like, here's why.
Well, they're 2 for 2 on doing this kind of stuff. They did it with Daniil Hunter and the other regime, and now they did it with Josh Metellus. And dude, that if Josh Metellus, falls off the face of the earth next year, we could still use that graphic for the positions that he played and the number of snaps. Like I was blown away. I knew he was good, but I didn't know it was like that. I didn't know they were.
I couldn't imagine him just going back and playing pure safety. No, I can't imagine
I
it.
don't think you'd be foolish to do that, seeing the success you've had. Moving him around like a chess piece. But I don't know. We'll see what Brian Flores comes up with.
Speaking of Brian Flores, I'm still kind of surprised that he didn't get a lot of looks this offseason or at least a lot of interviews. And Minnesota's been able to keep their coaching staff mostly together, which is amazing.
I can't believe we're going to get 3 years of him. I thought it was going to be a one and done. Given that it was boomer bust the first year, that middle of the season was really good. Started rough, ended rough. But I really, really enjoy the way that he runs like the specific. It's a very aggressive defense. I really appreciate his style of defense. And I love that much like Kevin O'Connell will do with quarterbacks and kind of rehab, he can't. That's something that if I could have a sit down, I just want to have a day, like not even a full day. I just need a half a day with Kevin O'Connell. I would question this man that he would never want to see me again. I would ask 700 questions in such a short amount of time. But I want to say, hey, so what's the dynamic if like you're here, Brian Flores is here, and Sean McVay are all here, and we're all having lunch? Like the four of us are having lunch. Sean coached you and coached you up. Now you're a head coach. You won Coach of the Year. You won a Super Bowl under him. He's obviously established and really good. He's not going anywhere. You're obviously really good. You got your contract. You're really good. Brian Flores is coached as a head coach too. Like, how does that dynamic work? Like, you're not going to go in and swinging your metaphorical dick around being like, no, you got to listen to me. Like, we've seen that on Hard Knocks where, who is it? Hugh Jackson was like, no, I'm at the head of the table. Look at me. I'm in the king of the castle chair, like Borat. Like, yeah, dude, we know you're not going to last. We can see that all day. I always wonder what the dynamic is. And like, is there just an unspoken conversation, or is there one conversation at the beginning of the hiring and then it's like, all right, dude, this is how we can work. You do this, you do that. Like, I always wonder about that dynamic because Brian Flores is getting the same rehab treatment in Minnesota that these quarterbacks have had. I don't necessarily think that Kevin O'Connell's the one doing it to him. I think it's a mixture of GM and owner plus head coach saying, hey, this guy's really good. We should take him in. But every year that he stays here is just another notch on the belt to be like, I wasn't the problem in Miami. Like, hey,
now you mentioned rehab, so I kind of want to mention a rehab situation here going on. Will Fries is still dealing with a fractured tibia. He's recovering from that. So he has been sitting out of OTAs, and they've been having Blake Brandel sitting in at right guard during that time. But
Fine.
Coach gave an update on Sports Illustrated saying that, yeah, he's probably not going to participate in OTAs. We're going to try to ease him in during the training camp and see how things work. So right now that is a work in progress. It's something to watch, and it might be a reason why Minnesota isn't too eager or looking to move on from Blake Brandel at the moment.
I'm good with it. Got to have depth for a reason. It's a good update too. I was not aware. I remember he and Ryan Kelly having some issues in the past. They are getting slightly long in the tooth, but still going to play excellence. They're going to be here. But yeah, I didn't know that. So I'm glad you gave me the update. I'm learning stuff too, guys.
Yeah, I like him. I'm interested to see him play, but I want him to get that tibia, completely healed. I don't want him to rush anything back. Take your time, get back, be 100%, help this team win. That's the goal.
Absolutely.
And it's always weird because the NFL is one of those leagues where you want to rush someone back and get them in as soon as possible, but that's not always the best idea.
No, you know what? I'm glad you said that because I was thinking about JJ McCarthy earlier. We don't know much, but I can't explain to you how much I believe in redshirting a rookie and just letting them sit and watch. I don't care that he won a national championship at Michigan. I honestly, guys, I'm going to swear here. So if you have kids that are listening, turn the volume down. But I couldn't give a fuck less that he won a national title there. Partly because I didn't see Joe Burrow at LSU when I look at JJ McCarthy. I didn't see him slinging 66 touchdowns in a year. If it had been that, I wouldn't have had any issue regardless. But for the majority, what I've seen, and Adam, you know what spiel I'm going to go on here. We've seen in the last 20 years in the NFL, we're just too damn impatient, man. And I think having an injury that's not like super crazy serious, like the Teddy Bridgewater one, knock on wood, having an injury like he had, I think it might have been a blessing in disguise, man, if I'm being honest. Just have 1 year where you can learn. He was an excellent teammate. He was rooting Sam on the entire way. And he's in the meetings, he's rehabbing, he's doing this. He has a little adversity in the offseason where they're like, man, he's a little underweight, blah, blah. No, man, he's fine. He's just living his life. He's a young kid. He's going to be a dad come the beginning of the season. Everybody's fully behind him. I don't think that it's a negative as much as we're trying to, or not as we are, but as much as people try to spin it of, well, I don't know. We haven't seen anything. I think it's the best thing that could have happened for him, all things considered, because I feel like we rush these kids into it. Look what happened with Anthony Richardson. I've never seen a quarterback ever tap out of a game. He's overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like
somebody. And when you look at like
him.
Some players that had amazing college careers, who had a great run in college and played great in a big game situation? Jamarcus Russell.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good
There's a reason why he was drafted number 1 overall. It's because he played well in college at certain times, and that led to teams thinking he could do that in the pros.
I know the one thing
it doesn't always translate.
Yes, I know the one thing we've established with McCarthy is, sorry guys, I had to move. My dog had surgery today. He has a ton of stitches in his arm, and I'm down here making sure he's not chewing on them. I don't have the cone of shame on him. I thought about 2 minutes ago, I was like, oh no. So I'm checking on my guy right now. Going back to McCarthy, I think the one thing that we love the most is, and we've seen this with the Vikings over many different tenures, is they usually don't draft pieces of crap or super big question marks, especially at quarterback. I'm really happy with that. Teddy was an outstanding human. Christian Ponderbout.
Well, Minnesota went through that phase for a little while where character didn't seem like a big concern. And then there was that huge swing where character really started to take some preference, and those interviews started to pile up, and decisions by the GM and the brass just started to make the locker room a much better place. And, I really like what I've seen and hear from the Minnesota Vikings locker room these days, so maybe it's working.
And that's the whole point I'm alluding to. I really enjoyed the human that J.J. McCarthy is. He really does seem like a wholesome kind of deal. And I'm going to round this into poo-pooing on a former Vikings player because it's really funny. And I'm a hater, and I'm kind of petty for this. J.J. McCarthy is a teammate or a football player that you would want to date your sister because he's a good human being. We did have a former Minnesota Viking make his way in the news again that you would not want to date your sister, as per a very popular episode of 96 Questions. And I just want to say, Stefan Diggs, what the hell are you doing, man? I understand when he's very young. I see the attitude and the charisma he has, and he's like, I remember looking at a couple of games when he was in a Vikings uniform where he was like, I'm him. I'm that guy. And I was like, you know what, dude, you might not be the biggest dude in the world, but you play like you're 10 feet tall. I appreciate that.
Right.
But he's on his fourth team in what, 4 or 5 years?
And it isn't his skill and ability that's keeping him, from sticking with the team.
Brother. I don't understand, and I don't know Cardi B enough to say anything negative. I really am trying to not be just a typical redneck Southern ignorant asshole when I say this. Like, but dating a huge rap star and being on a boat, knowing people are filming you and getting caught up in what he got caught up in, like, brother, you're 30 years old. You're a full grown man now. You got lots of grown man money. What are you doing?
Did you see Aaron Jones was asked about his age?
No.
So he was holding his press conference and he got asked about his age, and he said, age is just a number. I've been saying that since I was a little kid trying to get older women.
My man. Hey, that's the way to go. Hmm. No, that's
And
funny.
watching Aaron Jones last year, he didn't play like someone who was concerned about his age or his body letting down. I didn't see that one bit.
I think you have to. I think, I've done it before in wrestling when I wrestled throughout middle and high school. When there was a time when I wrestled reserved or my mental state was like I was intimidated, I was at my worst.
Yeah.
The best match that I ever had, I actually won a conference title and actually won the MVP of the tournament that day, was I felt like water, man. I felt like Bruce Lee saying, just be liquid. Go in smooth. Don't give a shit about anything. Just be yourself. And that's another thing too, like alluding to Aaron Jones talking about earlier. I love that he said that. You know what I would have said? Like, hey, what about your age? I'm like, the only number you should be concerned with? How many touchdowns and yards did I have last year? That's still good enough to be the starter here? They thought so. They paid me again. I think so. Let's try to beat that this year. That's what I would tell everybody.
There is concern because of how he has missed games in the past because of injury. And his injury history is pretty extensive. And yes, that is something to kind of pay attention to. But that's why Minnesota went out and got him a running back too to split some carries with.
Maybe he doesn't have as many injuries if he doesn't have to shoulder the load. He's not Derrick Henry. He's not Adrian Peterson. You don't want to give him 300 touches a year. I don't want him to touch the ball that much.
No.
I want him to come in and throw a defense off. And I want them to scheme up something where it's like, damn, he still looks 27 years old, doesn't he?
Right.
That's what he looks like. I'm ready for that. I trust the team to do that, though. Got a really good coach that can draw up some cool stuff.
But right now we're at that phase where it's okay to get excited about the Minnesota Vikings as football is starting to hype up, and we're seeing the Hall of Fame game starting to get a little bit hyped. And let's be honest, that's one game that should not be hyped. But hey, go ahead.
Shouldn't be. I'm more excited to watch people get the call and watch the opening of the door when they realize they're going in the Hall of Fame. That's going to be really cool. I hate it now that you and I, like, you're in your 40s, correct?
Yeah.
And I'm 37, so I'm getting there. I hate the most, it's my love and hate seeing the players that I knew, but also these are players that I know. And I'm like, I feel like I just watched you like 2 seasons ago. What the hell, man?
Now, what's really hard is when you're watching like football or basketball or something, and the kids of the players you used to watch are playing.
Oh, no. Yeah. Actually, I saw this yesterday. I think it was TikTok. Amon-Ra St. Brown sat down with Cam Scatbo, running back for the Giants that got drafted this year. He didn't know, and I get it. Football's harder because they have helmets on. But pulled up a picture of Megatron from Detroit. Didn't know who it was. Pulled up a picture of Brett Favre. Remember when Baker Mayfield redid the Brett Favre draft day photo shoot in the shorts? He's like, yeah, that's Baker. I don't know who the hell that guy is on the bottom. And I just sat back and I was like, mother of God. Were you born after 9/11? You probably were born after 9. I'm old now. I'm 37. 9/11 was 24 years ago. Yeah, you got to be younger than 24. You don't know. You don't know who Brett Favre is. Wow. Wow. And think about that, Adam. you people not knowing who Brett Favre is, okay, we're a little removed. He's been out of the league for about 15 years now. Okay, I get it. Here very soon, there are going to be kids that enter the league within the next 10 years. You're going to say Drew Brees, and they're going to go, who? And then I'm going to
Right.
scream, I'm going to yell at the clouds. I'm going to scream the F word as loud as I can. Like, are you shitting me? Or like you say Aaron Rodgers, and people will be like, he's mid. I'm like, don't talk. Your First Amendment rights are gone today. You don't get to speak.
What's funny is that you'll say that and they'll go look up stats and they'll be like, oh, well, Dan Marino had worse stats than Baker Mayfield, so he's nothing. You gotta love those kind of
I can't.
situations.
Speaking of Marino, I have to give. I'm always going to tell you guys about content to go check out. First off, Adam's got a. We're about to wrap up the show, anyways. Adam's got the Viking Age. You should go check out the VikingAge.com and click on his articles. Pay his bills. If you click on an article, not only do you give Adam more revenue, but you will actually put food in his cat's mouth. You really
That's
do
right.
that.
And this cat likes to eat. He's getting big.
What I was going to say for the things that you should look up for content is games with names. I am such a Julian Edelman fan. I think the way that he explains things, just his whole attitude, he's just a guy I just want to hang out with, and I'd buy him a beer and say, hey, man, can we talk about football? Can you just explain it to a regular couch potato like me? He has a great variety of guests on. If you haven't watched the episode with him and Matt Light, the former offensive lineman from the Patriots, you will pee your pants laughing at these Bill Belichick jokes. I've never met a person in my life more that I relate to than being a menace to the boss that's just like a straight nose. He was always playing jokes on the Sith Lord that is Bill Belichick, dude.
Now, you and I don't have that kind of insider information, but one thing I love about the Purple People podcast is that we are accessible to pretty much anybody. You don't need to know a ton of Vikings or even NFL football stuff to come in and enjoy the show and understand what we're talking about. We're not going to talk over people's heads. We're just going to talk like normal people who enjoy football.
Yeah, we try to have a good community here. We have a small fan base, but man, you guys are always consistent. We've got Fire Breather in there, NC Sports is in. Shout out to Jonathan and Charlotte. All of our
we
regulars.
got our regulars who are fantastic.
Yeah, we wouldn't. The show wouldn't be the same without you. We appreciate all of you, and the ones we didn't name off the top of our head, Sergio. We love you guys. You know that. I like to give you some things. Like I'm always, if you guys have listened for more than one episode, I'm always telling you about sports media that I like. The Games with Names episode that I was going to say, you brought up Dan Marino. Bill Burr was on there recently, and he mentioned just a regular season game where Dan Marino went in single-handedly and beat the crap out of, I think it was either the Cowboys or the Steelers, one. But it was like, he didn't have any superstars, and the defense wasn't that good, and they handily beat this team who was like perennial Super Bowl winners or contenders.
Right.
And that's the lesson that you and I are going to have to preach, that it's going to fall on deaf ears. But yeah, kids are going to look at Aaron Rodgers and be like, he won one Super Bowl. He was terrible his last couple of years. He's mid. I'm like, you understand the torment that this guy put on a team? Particularly, not even my team, just the Bears for like 10 years. Dude won 4 MVPs. You can't call him mid. He won a Super Bowl. Like Patrick Mahomes won 3. It's like he's the outlier. I can already see this argument we're going to have about.
Right.
And we're going to have it with Patrick Mahomes. People are going to be saying he's better than Brady. It's going to be the LeBron Jordan debate all over again. It's coming. It's coming, man. Can you believe this, Adam? I'll shut up after this. We can end the show. It took me the other day, somebody saying it out loud on a podcast. We've watched Patrick Mahomes play in 5 Super Bowls already.
Oh yeah,
5. You don't remember because we were all happy that we hated the Chiefs so much that Tampa Bay and Philly beat the shit out of them when they lost. But he's played in 5 Super Bowls of recent. 5 out of the last 6 years. The only year that he didn't was the Bengals Rams one. That's crazy.
It's wild.
That's crazy. That's unheard of. And he's not even 30. So guess what we get to look forward to for another 10 years. Great.
Oh yeah, it's going to be another adventure. So I'm hoping that Minnesota can somehow put together a nice little string there, maybe of NFC North championships, maybe of NFC championships. I don't know. I don't know how high to put my hopes.
I'm going to tell you guys something that you wouldn't expect from me, but this is what I want to see happen in the next 10 years. I want to see Kevin O'Connell, and if it's JJ McCarthy, cool. If it's not, I don't care. In the next 10 years, I want to see the Vikings win their first Super Bowl with Kevin O'Connell as a coach. I think he could I could see the potential. He hasn't earned it yet because he's 0-2 in the playoffs so far, but I just love the human and I love the coach. I could see him having a statue outside of US Bank Stadium. I want to see Josh Allen and the Bills get one. The Bills, they're tortured like the Vikings, man. I can't imagine going to 4 in a row and not winning at least one of them. And just to shut people up, I want to see Lamar Jackson win a Super Bowl. I would love to see the Vikings win their first, Josh Allen in Buffalo, and Lamar in Baltimore. I'd love to see that in the next 10 years. I think it's absolutely possible for all three to happen. I don't know which is more likely than the other, but as long as our boys get it, you guys know I rock with these guys always, but I'm starting to become a bigger fan of just the league in general and the storylines. I think it helps get the offseason to pass a lot. So,
One thing I'm not a fan of at the moment is people on social media who feel like posts by brands and companies like the Minnesota Vikings that are celebrating things like, holidays that aren't Christian holidays, or, Pride Month, or, Juneteenth or whatever. If you don't have something positive to say about it, just keep scrolling, please.
yeah, it's a weird dynamic in this day and age. I don't like when companies just do it to cover their ass. If you don't really mean it, stand up for what you believe in. If you don't believe in celebrating Pride Month, I'm not going to hate you for it. If you do believe in celebrating Pride Month, I fully support you. It doesn't bother me either way. I don't want the companies to do it just to click a button to be like, all right, we're safe. Like that, I
But
don't
like, even
want.
when Minnesota Vikings ownership has posts about, holidays that they observe,
Yeah,
and you still get people on there being like, "Oh, this isn't a real holiday." Yes, it is.
maybe it's not a holiday in your house, but I mean, the rest of the world is moving on without you. Like I don't know. I don't understand that. I've never understood letting something like that upset you. If it doesn't affect you, I don't really understand the need to get upset about it. So I'm totally with you on that. Like, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird energy when people start
Because
doing
when you
that.
click on a post and it says like, "Oh, well, this is why the Vikings will never win a Super Bowl." Really, this is it?
That's the reason. All right, bud. You got some stuff you need to talk to your therapist about. Oh my god, that's wild. Yeah, I can't say. Look, I'm not gonna name any specifics, man. But like, this happened recently with a friend of mine with the military. Like, someone came out, and it's a person who's a little older, a male, and then they're getting roasted in a group chat about it. And I'm like, that's not the vibe, man. You should support your friends if they come out. Like, I'm not
Right.
gay. I'm not gay. I'll never be gay. I've never found men attractive at all, and that's fine. I don't think I'm a bigot for saying that. But I'm also like, if you came to me or one of our friends came, and was like, hey man, I trust you enough to like come out of the closet and tell you like I'm homosexual. Okay, cool. Hey, I appreciate the honesty and the trust.
Right.
Just because here's the thing that I always twist it to, and this is the way it could be. Because I know what the answer is going to be because I was raised in this crap, is all my neighbors would say it. I would say, hey, if your son or daughter came and told you that, what would you say? Like, well, I'd be highly disappointed. Like, you wouldn't love them? That's rough, man. And then when you add that dynamic in, you start seeing the ear scratches, and the uncomfortableness of like, oh, I don't want to think about that. It's like, well, you should think about it. That's somebody's daughter and son that you're shitting on that you don't know.
It's kind of surprising that it took so long for there to be the first openly gay NFL player, and now his jersey is hanging in the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
But do you know what? There were probably hundreds of gay players in the NFL before that were just afraid to be themselves, and that to me is not really right.
And I think this is where it gets lost, man. I am a little old school and a little conservative in my belief to say like I don't think whom you love and sleep with should define your whole personality. If that's your whole personality, there's got to be a little more depth to you than that. Like that's the part I don't like of it. But here's the thing. It's also like, can you imagine like 40, 50, 60 years ago, you not getting a job based on somebody knowing that you sleep with the same sex? That's fucking wild to me.
It is
Do
wild.
you know how many people I served with in the military? I was in a male dominated career field. If a woman walked in, all of us would be like, are we taking bets? and it's just a friendly banter. Like, obviously, we're not going to harass them or intimidate them or something. But like, a lot of the girls in my career field were lesbians.
Yeah.
That's cool. I know somebody deep in the football community I know is part of LGBT. Dude, you can't like. I would never treat them differently because of that, and they are involved with football, and it's like cool. I think what we're trying to say here is don't be an asshole. Don't be an asshole. If you don't like it, shut up about it. It's okay.
Exactly.
And you know what? On the same side of it, you know what? You can celebrate Pride Month if you want. You can not celebrate. You can be like me. I got gay friends. Y'all are all my homies. It doesn't matter what you do, who you
Oh
sleep
yeah.
with, fine. You know what it also is? June is also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And you know what we never talked about, not even 20 years ago? If you need to talk to somebody because you're having a rough day and you're thinking like, damn, dude, I don't know if I want to be here. I don't think there's any way out. There is. You can call us.
Oh yeah.
Hit us up. Send it to the pod's messenger. Send it to my personal one. Whatever. I wanted to put that out there too. This doesn't undermine pride at all.
Oh, not at all.
I just want to throw it out. There's only 365 days in the year. There's more than 365 problems in the world. So you got to understand where we're at. But that is something that is kind of like making a really good push.
I thought there were only 99 problems.
You know what the one isn't. So yeah, but you gotta think about that part of it too. Is where I come from. I lost a friend not even 2 years ago to suicide. A military vet. He was one of my former students. Hit me hard, man. He was struggling bad, and I had just talked to him the week before and sending stupid shit on Instagram and TikTok like you and I do. And
Oh yeah.
all I wanted to go back and say was like, dude, call me. I don't care that you live in Florida. If it's that bad where you say, Kyle, can you be here in like 2 days? I'll figure it out, man. If that's what
Oh
it
yeah.
takes to keep you here, if you are just a slight burden on my credit card for a couple of days, but you stay, we can figure that out. So I want to put that out there in the universe too. Like, we try not to be douches here at the Purple People Podcast. So, Adam, thank you for bringing that up. I'm glad that we have it
Because
all.
we've always tried to be big on respect, big on lifting each other up. And I feel like that's something that doesn't really happen enough, especially on social media where it's been kind of accepted for people to be absolute jerks.
Yeah, you know what? Going on that soapbox one more time is you don't have to like live in that. You don't have to reply to. I'm telling you right now, I turned off all my notifications on TikTok. I've turned off my notifications on Instagram.
You got a couple TikToks waiting, by the way.
I know. I saw you send them, but I can't like. Get. I'm glad you're understanding of that. It's so fucking negative everywhere, and I really do think there's going to be a study that comes out eventually. Maybe it's next year. Maybe it's in 5, 10 years. This has warped people so badly. You just are such a complete piece of shit to strangers. You
So
don't even know
there's this guy on TikTok. He's called Artie, right?
them.
And he's chronicling his weight loss journey, and so far he's lost 120 pounds by walking every day. And he streams, and people keep telling him, well, you must not be walking enough. You're still super fucking fat.
That's
It's like,
so
really?
rude.
Let him do his thing. He's working hard. He's accomplishing his goals.
I don't understand people like that, especially with the weight loss stuff. It's like, what do you expect them to just take one big shit and they lose 300 pounds? Do you not know how bodies and anatomy? Like, I always go to the next level of intelligence to be like, oh, you're so dumb, you don't even realize how stupid you are. That's crazy. That's crazy work to shit on someone who's actively fixing the problem.
Not enough people these days are even willing to accept what their problems are, let alone work on them. And when you get someone that's willing to do that, put in hard work and time, and then for someone to poop on it?
It's weird. It's a weird thing to do, man. We'll help you out here if we can. We will talk to you, we will listen, and we
Absolutely.
love that. We love our community of people, man. We really do. Our small, it feels like a family. So,
And we always love when you guys stop in, even if it's just to say hi, make a comment.
mhm.
You know, we also love when you share the show, give it a like or whatever you guys do wherever you are. We love all that. You
Love
can
it.
check out my work on the Viking Age. You can hit up me on whatever social media platform. I'm on all of them at MN Viking Zombie. I think I have that same tag everywhere, right?
I believe you do. I know you have it on TikTok, your Twitch, your YouTube that we do stuff on. I've got a couple movies I watched recently, by the way. I don't know if you make it out to the theaters, but I have a few. And Adam's usually the one that tells me, like, "Hey, don't see this; you won't like it." I've got one that I didn't like, and I was very hyped for. So yeah, we can.
Interesting.
Yeah, we can talk about it. But yeah, you
I
can.
hope it's not Friendship.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna go this. I'm gonna go Sunday. I'm really
That's
pumped.
not showing anywhere near me. Like
Oh,
I've checked every theater for like 100 miles away from me, and nowhere. And I really want to see it.
you know what, Andrew? I always wonder the a-hole people's parents were like. I think they were either insecure or they were also made to think that way. And it doesn't just come in the form of bigotry towards gay people. It comes in the form of racism or like in my town growing up, if you had a daughter who was white and she dated a black dude, oh my goodness, cardinal sin. And it's just like, how can you like what if they're actually in love? What if they have a child? Are you going to hate that grandchild just because their father's black? It's fucking insane. And then you see the tide turn when it's like, well, this person's close to me and I love them now. Yeah, no shit. That's your grandchild. You're supposed to love him. Like, you see that with so many weird things because they have such a jaded view. And for me personally, the soapbox that I will always die on is like, I'm a believer in God. Yes, I have a potty mouth. Yes, I have things to fix, but I grew up in church. Now that I have my own adult perception and experiences in the world, man, some of the worst people I've ever met are Sunday Christians. They are the fucking worst people. They'll get
And
out
I
of church.
understand that times change and things change.
Yeah,
My dad went to Vietnam, and he never really got over not liking Asian people. He
yeah.
was always a bit racist that way. And do you know what? I get it.
Mhm.
Am I racist that way? No. But I understand why he held that belief. And do I think he's a bad person for it? Not really. But,
No,
that's just kind of the way things go sometimes. Is we got to remember that time changes and people change, and what was acceptable at one time isn't now, and what wasn't acceptable, will be. And that's okay. Change sucks. It does.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love when things stay the same. It's so good. Because no change means nothing's going wrong, right?
Yeah, look outside. Just go out in the world for a day. You'll find plenty of things that are wrong. That's crazy. Yeah, same thing, man. These are the people that are lifting their hand in church, singing along to the hymns, and then they go out to a restaurant and they treat their waitress or waiter like absolute crap, like they're not a human. It's crazy, man. Anyways, I'll get off the soapbox. Go support Adam. I put it up here one more time. The Viking Age or at MN Viking Zombie on social media. Give the Purple People podcast a like on YouTube. If you like Facebook, cool. Heart the video, share it on your timeline. If you are a YouTube listener like myself, just subscribe, hit that bell, and it'll tell you once I schedule the show, you'll get a thing that says, "Hey, Purple People Pod's going live at this time on this day." If you're a Twitch person, that's cool. It'll send you an email out when we go live. There's all kinds of ways to consume us. We haven't even mentioned the podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those places. You can check us out everywhere.
Do you want to end the show with something a little ridiculous?
Of course.
So, Judd Zulgad, you're familiar with him, right?
Yep.
So he suggested Kenny Pickett as a possible trade target before the start of the season if Sam Howell stinks this summer.
I'm good. Sam Howell's not. He's not going to stink. And here's the thing. It's not because I don't have some sort of thing against Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett. It's not that I have anything against him. I feel like it's already too late to start moving shit around. Unless an injury happens, don't mess with it, please. Just don't. Like, there's no need. Because, and this is part of the reason why I don't think Pittsburgh, like, I would have given Aaron Rodgers a May or a June 1st, like the post cut, post June 1st cut or whatever. I would have given him the June 1st ultimatum and be like, you're here or you're not, we're not taking you.
Right.
It's too late, man. If you're going to make rookies who have never been in the NFL show up to gel and learn stuff, the least that you could do is say, okay, take your time with the offseason, take your time, do your podcast, do your vacation, whatever, but I need you here by this day so we can get things set in. Because to think that you're just that good and above it all.
Speaking of absurd, was it Joy Taylor that was going off about Aaron Rodgers not being at Steelers camp?
Yeah. I'm dying. You know what? I'm not even going to open up that can of worms because there's some bad jokes to be made about her and what came out. But you can't just. She's the old woman yelling at the clouds on this one for nothing. It's like,
He's not even on the team. He doesn't even work
how can you
there.
yell at a person who's not officially part of it? It's like, it's not. She's not doing herself any favors. All right, that was very unnecessary. I don't know. It's funny.
So
Oh,
yeah, be responsible in your sports journalism. And another thing, if you're scrolling Facebook looking for sports information, be careful because boy, there are a lot of AI generated articles and just absolute lies
you
going
remember those,
through
remember those church
on
goers I
social
told you about?
media.
All the churchgoers, they're the ones that believe those are real. It's weird.
I'm seeing people fall for them, and it's like these aren't even close.
Well,
Like
you
I
got to
saw
think.
one Vikings trade for Kirk Cousins and tight end from Falcons. It's like, oh, really?
The one that I saw that was funny in the Kansas City community is Patrick Mahomes after the Super Bowl, and it was him just blaming the O line, blaming his coach, blaming Travis, and I'm like, do you really think if you only had 1% of your brain to dedicate to football, if you just take the totality of everything he's ever done in the NFL and it's never sounded or looked like that, do you think that's the truth? He's never once been like I could listen to every single, including Aaron Rodgers, who will give you sound bites,
Oh yeah.
every single quarterback press conference for the last 5 years, and they not one of them would even be in the same neighborhood as that stuff. But because the mouth moves and they can sort of make a voice be like 70% similar. Well, I saw it on the internet. It's like, but he wouldn't say that. They're robots. They don't say anything. What do you mean? It's wild. But yeah, it's the old people that fall for that. It's really sad.
So yeah, don't believe everything you see on the internet. I believe that's an Abraham Lincoln quote.
Yeah, George Washington said that 2 years ago.
But we'll try to be back maybe within a week, maybe 2 weeks. We'll see. It's
Yeah.
the off season, so maybe we'll take a little bit extra time. I don't know. But we'll be here to talk about some Minnesota Vikings football, and maybe we'll have Kyle West back with us, who was the man in the huddle that was missing that I was talking about at the beginning. But I like where you went with it.
Yeah, Kyle was busy. I know he's working hard, and it's summer's peak time. He was telling me summer's like crazy for him. So Kyle will be back. He's not done with the show or anything. It's the slow time right now. We're almost there, guys. We got about a month until training camp, so maybe a little over a month, but we'll get
So
there.
enjoy the little nuggets of Vikings news that come out, and in the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.